Hello there, this one is called Shaman's Breakfast. So I don't know what other shamans eat, so I'm going to talk you through mine. Breakfast for me is the most important meal of the day. And I like to go generally plant-based alkaline. It's a great kind of breakfast if you're following the protocol with the two shamans, which you will see in the description, the films I've already made about that. It goes really well. So those two shamans, the neem and the turmeric, just say a big yes to this particular breakfast. And they're very wise, those two plants. So that's what we're going to be starting off with. So let's get up and get on. So first thing I like to do is, and this is an opportunity for me to demonstrate shamanic cuisine, is it's really great if you've got a decent cutting board. And it's even better if you've got a sharp knife. Nothing worse than a blunt knife, so make sure your knife is nice and sharp. This is a Japanese vegetable knife. And for me personally, if I'm cooking, I always want a pair of chopsticks. Just the best tool for that job. So what I like to do, shamanic cuisine style, is to get all the ingredients out, which I've got displayed around there. That's what we're going to be selecting from. And this is the important key with shamanic cuisine, different from any other that I've come across, which is that what we do is we choose in the moment, because it's the moment that knows what's right. So this idea of making food a week in advance and putting it in the freezer is just dead, isn't it, really? So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be responding in the moment to what the body is feeling drawn towards. And I do like to begin with an allium of some kind. It could be an onion, could be garlic, could be a leek. And because we're still in wild garlic season, it is absolutely, definitely, emphatically going to be wild garlic. So I'm going to see which ones I feel like choosing. And my feeling is to start with some leek. So I'm left-handed. This is quite convenient for the way this kitchen is laid out. And I don't even want to have all the leek. I'm going to slice some off one end and some off the other end until I feel I've got enough. And that feels like enough. Oh, this one's calling as well, so let it join in. And I'm going to put all those over to one side of the cutting board. And with that, I feel I'm going to go for, yes, I'm going to go for a clove of garlic as well. Let's have one of them. So garlic is just so medicinal, as I'm sure you all know. Antioxidant, phytochemicals, all the rest of it. So I'm going to put a bit of that together with the leek, and I'm going to see what else I'm going to add. So I've definitely got a filling for this courgette, so I'm going to have some courgette too, what the Americans call zucchini. And I like to slice it in this particular way that I'm doing. I just feel it's so much more preferable to the way that most people do it. It feels good, and has the added advantage for me that the courgette really does melt in with all the other vegetables when you cut it in this particular style. So this is a variation on the matchstick style. Ooh. That's it. So I've got some green in there. Now, shamanic cuisine, we're always about the colours. So let's get some other colours. Let's balance the green with some red. A bit of red pepper. It's nice to have your compost bucket nearby you can throw the bits into. And this one I'm going to cut in this way. I literally just made that up on the spot the way I felt like doing it. So I'm going to get pieces rather similar in shape to the way the courgettes came out. Now I'm going to pause at this point because my shamanic sense are telling me it's time to get that leek on. So the way I'm cooking is with Ronnie the Rayburn. So here's Ronnie the Rayburn, and here's the bowl I'm going to be using. Very grateful to Ruth who gave me this bowl a long time ago. It's just a superb device for cooking with. So that's going to go on. Going to add a little bit of coconut oil. It's so warm in my kitchen, it's actually molten. Now I'm not actually doing a plant diet for retreat yet, so I'm going to be putting salt in. And now I'm going to be adding, first of all, the leek and the garlic. So let's get those in. And that will take a few minutes before we start to hear the delightful sounds. So I'm using coconut oil. It's really great if you're doing the two shamans practice with the neem and the turmeric, to have some coconut oil in the first food that you eat. It's a really valuable thing to do, because coconut is, well, sorry, all oils are really good for enabling you to get the best out of the power of the healing of the turmeric. It just augments the healing power somehow. So I've got my courgette and my pepper, and I just feel like it's a tomato time of day. So tomatoes and spinach, anti-aging, anti-wrinkle. It's a nice little mantra, isn't it? Tomatoes and spinach, anti-aging and anti-wrinkle. Such a simple little thing. Now I can hear a bit of action going on over there with the pan. So I'm going to just let it do its thing for a bit, but it's giving me the sense I'm going to want to add some olives. Now olives, one of the unsung heroes of the plant kingdom. A lot of people don't think very much of them, but they are really powerful nutrients. I'm going to have some, well, this is to me an utter luxury and indulgence. I'm going to have some fresh peas in my breakfast. That is just such a special thing to have. So looking forward to doing them in a moment. So I'm going to get these are Greek Kalamata olives out. I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel like I'm just going to toss them into the pan, and you can hear the sound augmentation as I've done that. And I've got my little chopsticks here, which I can use to give everything a brief stir. Go on, and let's wind it around so you can see. There we are. That's doing its little thing very nicely. And I'm going to make use of my visual aid. I've got a see-through lid. Handy, eh? Right. It's good to have the lid on after a couple of minutes, because then all the flavours, all the aromas are actually being kept inside the pan for your future delectation. So I'm feeling like I'm going to have a carrot, and one of the ways I like to do carrots in this dish, rather than slicing it thinly, which I could do, but I feel like giving it a bit of a grate, so I'm going to grate it on this setting. Now I do just love working with underrated, unsung heroes of the plant kingdom, and carrots definitely another one. Vitamin A, good for the eyes. We all know these things from a long time ago, I hope. But what I want to add now is a little bit of this. This is called green nori sprinkle, seaweeds. Now, particularly for vegans, seaweeds are so important, because seaweeds can sort you out for collagen, which is mostly only available from the animal kingdom. So we're definitely going to be putting a little bit of green nori sprinkle seaweed in there. And I've really got to the stage where it's time for me to start to add all these ingredients to the pan. So that's what I'm going to do next. Fingers are starting to dry off a little bit in that pan. There we go. So using my vegetable knife, Just such a wonderful tool for this job. I'm going to add them in the order I cut them, slice them. So I'm going to put the courgettes in first, adding water by adding the courgettes, so that dryness is being counteracted. And then I'll follow up with some of the red pepper. So here's the thing, when we're working with shamanic cuisine, we're playing in the kitchen and we're working with aroma, with colour, with taste, with texture. We're working with all sorts of representational systems. So I'm actually being instructed. I wasn't going to do this. I'm going to put a little bit of oregano in. That was a kind of a late instruction I received in the moment, so didn't get it out, but I can just as well do so. So now the ones I'm going to add next is going to be the tomato. So in goes the tomato, and of course that's really wet. Nice bit of moistness. So now it's time for the green nori sprinkle to go into. A little bit of that. There we go, looks almost identical to the oregano, putting it in there. Just slightly change the air control mechanism on Ronnie's Rayburn. And now it's time for the grated carrot to go in on top of everything else. There it is. So I've got a load of things going on in here. I've got alchemy. This is alchemy. That's what alchemy is. It's using basic ingredients and turning it into something extraordinary. So all those are in. I'll just use the chopsticks just to mix them in a little bit. And at this point, I will pop the lid on again. Let everything steam in its own juices. And I'll use this time just to put one or two things away. Put away the olives. And the next thing I'm going to do is, let's wind this back. I'm going to get out the wild garlic, which I've already given a wash to. So here it comes. And just give it a good old slice as thinly as I can. And this is actually the last ingredient that's going to go into the cooking. I'm a great lover of carbs, carbohydrates, one of my favourite foods. In fact, generally what I ask myself with any meal is, what carbs am I having? It's a good reason for that, because actually, of course, it's your carbohydrates which get converted ultimately into glucose, which actually provides the body with its energy, together with the oxygen from your deep breathing. Yay, so there it is. So let's just show you my carbs. So the carb I'm going to be using is some saffron rice, which I cooked earlier. So what's a great thing, cook more rice than I need, and the following morning I can have my breakfast of shamans. So let's see what's going on here now. Yes, it's bubbling away nicely. A little bit more air at the top, a little bit more air at the bottom, and it's time for me to start to shell those peas and let those join in with the party, because that's what's going on. There's a party in my pan, and at some point there's going to be a party in my gut, and that's a bit, of course, I'm really looking forward to. And the party in my mouth on the way will be pretty cool as well. So I'm discovering that working with the two shamans, that I'm not eating quite so much as I used to. I've always eaten a lot. I'm eating less. I'm doing more deep breathing, doing more chanting, and my energy levels are improving and improving and improving. And bearing in mind with the challenges of the last few years, my energy levels had been plummeting. I've been really lacking energy for a long time. To actually have the energy coming back, I've got the energy to make films and so on. It's just wonderful. So here we go. So this is the rice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it. That's had enough time now. I'm going to sprinkle the rice in endeavouring as much as possible to get the rice into the pan and not onto Ronnie the Rainbow. So there we go. That's it. Every now and again I miss. Oops. Now let's get this last bits out. So I could have used quinoa, I could have used millet, I could have used barley grains that have been cooked. I could have used all sorts of things. I could have even put in pasta I cooked the day before. Whatever. Right. So the only thing I want to add now is the wild garlic, because everything else is in there. So let's just add some of this. And the wonderful Japanese vegetable knife enables me to transfer the entire batch all in one smooth movement. So there it all is. Just spread it out. And all I need to do now is to, there's a few little scraps I missed, let's just get them. A few little scraps. All I need to do now is to put the lid on and keep an eye on things, being aware there's in about just a bit under 10 minutes time that's going to be ready. And I'm going to be eating it with a couple of my favourite condiments, kimchi, of course, obviously one of my absolute favourites, make it myself, as I'm sure many of you know, and also another one I make myself, which is called gamazio, and this is sesame seeds that have been roasted on a slow steady heat and ground up together with some sea salt, just a little sea salt, lots of sesame seeds, alkalizes the blood. Great medicine in its own right. So that's it, folks. So that's the end of part one. I'm going to go and take it easy until we come back for part two, which is the consumption. All the love.